Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome to another edition of our MMA evening program. We have been keeping engaged from the time the 25th of March lockdown was imposed. We have brought you so many events. And over a period of last 2.5 months, over 80,000 people have watched our events over a period. And we are bringing events every spectrum of the management which is of relevance and important to you. One such event is what we are going to be bringing it to you today, most eagerly awaited, and this is the one which has been discussed at many forums, women in politics. Let me briefly introduce, I think I shouldn't be really attempting to introduce this distinguished panelist, but still, since I get an opportunity once in a while to do so, let me do so. One is Ms. Sangma. She couldn't join us. She conveyed a sincere regret why she not able to join us. She got some commitment somewhere, but she really committed. In case you were able to join, even in between join, I said most welcome to do that. Let's hope she'll be able to join us. Khushbu Sundar is an Indian film actress, producer, and television presenter who has acted in over 200 movies, and she is predominantly known for her work in the South Indian film industry. She has received 2 Tamil Nadu State Film Awards and also Kerala State Film Award. And Khushbu Sundar is really known to all the viewers watching this program. She's one of the finest actors from state of Tamil Nadu. Nupur Sharma is an executive member of the Bharatiya Janata Party in Delhi and managing media relationship of Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha. She was a Delhi University Student Union president in 2008. Till then, we know her, how active she was then. And she did the economics honors and University of Delhi, and also attained a law degree from Faculty of Law, Delhi University, and LLM, London School of Economics. Nupur has been an active politics since her days in the college, and also went on to become the president of the Delhi University Student Union on the ticket of Akhila Bharatiya Vidya Bharati. Very warm welcome to you, Nupur. Pleasure to have you with us. Rehana Amir has joined us from London. She's a British entrepreneur from Chennai, proud Chennai. She's now settled on UK of Indian origin. She has an immense passion in politics and is also a fundraising officer of the Onslow Central Labour Party branch. Rehana also believes in women empowerment through education, business, and technology. And she has worked in television shows and acted in serial of Star Vijay, and also she has not worked actually. There are too many men. And Rehana also believes in women empowerment, and she's leading a project launching of Western London and of Society of Local Group, and she's also an active member of UK TNCC, and she is also independent council member of London Council. She's representing, and she will share the perspective of what's happening in UK and how UK is, the ecosystem is so helpful. And today, Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, she is all very popular. She's going to be in conversation with all the distinguished panelists this evening. And Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, Indian actress, director, a fashion designer by qualification, an event manager by profession. Lakshmi Ramakrishnan is also an entrepreneur. She has worked in television shows, and she acted in the serial Avatar Star Vijay and hosted over 1,500 episodes of reality show Solvadella Munmai and Zee Tamil. She's also featured more than 25 TV commercials. Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you one of the outstanding panelists we have, and over to you, Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, to take it forward. Over to you, Lakshmi.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you very much. And good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to be talking to all of you. I've been looking forward to this session. For the next 1 hour, I'm going to keep aside all the details about the political affiliations and all that of the panelists and talk to these gorgeous women who are in leadership roles. And it's so, why is it so important? Why are we so concerned about this empowerment of women, especially in politics? Why have we taken up this topic today? So we need to discuss about this. We need to look into it. Before that, I would like to start with the opening note. I think Mrs. Kavita, she already mentioned about it. When women lead, the virus loses. That's the article which I read recently, which was very interesting, because they were actually exploring the various possibilities. Why the countries or the states or the health departments which had women leaders excelled in managing this COVID situation. Is it because women are innately or by nature caregivers, they are mothers, they have that emotional quotient when it comes to, protecting and taking care of, or is it because they are open to expert opinion and they are better as team members? What is that one factor which has led to this, superb outcome when it came to women leaders managing this COVID situation? I'm sure most of you would have read that article. So all the more reason we have to talk about, women in politics, because we want more women leaders. And this one reason is enough for us to justify the whole session, right? So when we look back for the past 70 years, of course, Peter, I'm talking from the point of our, this nation. And right from the day of independence, the role of women in politics has been progressing or growing steadily but slowly, or is it at all growing? Is it at all improving? It's a question mark. We did have a very, very powerful prime minister, powerful chief ministers, party bosses, yes, everything we had, all of them were there and they are role models. But is there a gap between these aspirations and the actual achievements? What is the current scenario? So my question is, we will explore all these subjects, and before that we would like to know more about your personal experience, that all you panelists, your personal experience, your take on this issue. And so my first question would be, how did you take this decision? When did you decide, and why did you decide that you have to take this as a career option? Whether politics is a career option or not is another question. Okay, but still, why and how did you take the plunge? How was the transition? And what do you feel about it now? So it'll be nice if each one of you could share your experience in a few minutes, in a nutshell. We would love to hear that.
I think for me, politics is something which I wanted to be in politics in 2007. There was cases against me in 2005, and I was fighting them very single-handedly, very ferociously, very vigorously, and and I didn't take any political support. So when in 2007 I decided that I want to get into politics, but I was very clear that I would get into politics only after I win my cases in Supreme Court, because I didn't want my battle to be an outcome of some support of a political party. So me and my husband decided that let us finish these cases however long they take, and then you decide that you want to come in politics. And my only reason to come into politics was for someone like me who's been on a platform, who has all the perks of life, who's famous, who has a platform. And if this can happen to me, where you have two political parties who were just mushrooming then, and they were trying to be the saviors of Tamil Nadu, the voices of Tamil Nadu, and if they could do this to me, imagine what happens if a common woman, if she takes a stand and speak her mind. So, that hit me hard, that if it's going to be so difficult, and if these people are going to make it so difficult for me, what would happen to a very...
You went on... let me get into politics.
And let me just work on it, and then, push things forward. And that's when in 2010, April 30th, I won all the cases in Supreme Court. And here I was sometime in May, after the third week, I joined DMK. So I think I needed a larger platform because I wanted to voice my opinion. and like my probably my image precedes me, that I'm a very strong and a courageous woman. So I have maintained that single-handedly, fighting all the odds. And I think it was a very good decision for me that I joined DMK when I got into politics, because it gave me a beautiful platform to learn what politics is about. And I think late former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Dr. Kalinger, I think he was the best teacher I could have ever asked for, because when he taught me what politics is about, what respect of politics is about, the language you speak in politics, the way you conduct yourself in politics, I think I couldn't have asked for a better teacher. And I think that was the best decision of my life, that I joined DMK. Yes, due to some unforeseen circumstances, I had to quit the party, but I have always maintained that I have huge respect towards the entire DMK fold. And I think it was a wonderful experience for me to be part of DMK. And the journey has been beautiful since then.
Why is it? Is there a disturbance? I'm not able to hear you. Captain?
Shankar, Shankar, the audio is...
Is that... Can you hear me?
Now it's okay. There are some audio issues. I think now it's fine. Go ahead. No?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's fine. Go
okay.
ahead.
I don't know, where did you lose me?
No, you said it has been a beautiful experience.
Am I audible now?
Yeah,
Yes.
you're audible
Yes.
now. I can't see you. Can you hear me? Captain?
You're stand 5 minutes, stand 5, very clear. Meanwhile, I think when we get Khushbu again back, meanwhile, I'll request Nupur, can you share your experience? By the time let's see, we'll get set. I think she got a signal problem in the place.
So
That's why it got frozen.
Miss
Nupur would like to go ahead?
Yeah, if
Miss Nupur, welcome
Yes.
on board, and very happy to talk to you.
a very good evening, and to everybody who's actually queued in and has taken out time to watch us. It's a very important topic, obviously, something that we have discussed time and again and again over the years. And just to clarify, I think Vijay ji has got my bio off the internet, so it's a little old. It's perhaps 5 or 6 years old. I'm no longer executive member of the BJP. I'm actually a spokesperson, and I also practice in the courts, especially in the Supreme Court of India. And I have fought an election as well. I fought against the incumbent chief minister in the 2015 assembly elections on a BJP ticket. When you ask the question as to what actually got us in, I think in my case, it's complete destiny. I've been around for 12 years now. I was very young when I started in politics. I was 23 and a second-year law student at University of Delhi, when some of my friends who were my classmates when I was doing my undergraduate degree at Hindu College, they knew I was politically active in the college, and they decided and thought that I would be somebody who would be a good candidate to approach, because in university politics, it's the largest democratically fought election in the world of student union. And because there are over 100,000 students present in voting in that election. So the calculation basically goes, if you're a student and a representative of the faculty of law, you automatically get all their votes or block. And the maximum number of students enrolled in any department, in any college in the University of Delhi is obviously faculty of law, because we have 3 different colleges there. So they pursued me, and more than me, they pursued my parents, that I should be allowed to come in. They knew that I was a bit studious. I was a bit outspoken. I was doing law because my grandmother thought I was very argumentative. So they, all of these things got together, and I fought on a ABVP ticket. And after 6 years for the Vidyarthi Parishad in Delhi University, we won the post of president. After that, my father thought that, it won't bid me any or do me any good if I did not complete my education. So he sent me to study, because he himself was a PhD from School of Pharmacy, University of London. Not because he thought any less of our education system, but because he thought that until unless we go into countries with, in a way, a more superior research center or research facilities, countries which have been industrialized, have been more progressive, have a more globalized economic outlook in comparison to India back then, we would be able to gauge as Indian citizens who plan to come back, what is the perception that India carries on the global map. And that's exactly the kind of education I got. Obviously, formally, I did get my LLM degree, but more than that was the experience I got of living independently, making friends from over 140 countries, understanding what India means to 140 countries, what's the perception of India and its state and its entire democracy for the rest of the world. So I will always be thankful. I came back. I did a job in a Supreme Court law firm for 2 years, but then my calling was something else. Even though I was doing a Supreme Court job, which required me to be on the job 7 days a week, I did not have a single day off. I had at that time the national president, who Mr. Madan knows really well, Mr. Anurag Thakur. He was the national president of the youth wing. I was a part of his team, his core team. And he would always call me, we need clarity on this legal issue. We need a note to be written on this. We need this research. We need that. So I was always doing 2 jobs. And somehow in 2013, I had to make a call, because you cannot be omnipresent. You have to do justice to whatever you're doing. In 2013, after a lot of pressure, I had to actually finally take a call to do full-time politics. That's the first time also when the party decided or floated my name to contest the assembly elections in New Delhi against now incumbent Chief Minister, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. That's the first election he fought against then now late Mrs. Sheila Dikshit. So that didn't work out. But after 2014 elections, I decided to go independent in my practice. And in 2015, I fought the election myself against Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. He won, obviously. I was runner-up. Since then, this has been it. I have assisted the Solicitor General of India. Previously, he was the ASB, the Supreme Court of India, Mr. Tushar Mehta. And now I'm doing my own independent practice. Currently, I'm doing research to write a book, and which is absolutely academic and legal in nature. And I am also somebody that you will often see on TV every evening, if not every other week.
That's wonderful, Nupur. It's very inspiring. Two things. One, you're very, very young. And one thing I noticed is your exposure. That is your, my daughter studied in SRCC Delhi. So I know how, what that exposure did to her. You were talking, after that you have been to London and London School of Economics. So, you get a bigger platform, bigger network, that's very, very important, right? So yeah. I think that was really inspiring. And Khushbu is back here. Hi, Ms. Khushbu.
Hi. Sorry, you lost me in between.
Yes, you said you wanted to make a difference, and that's how you decided to take the plunge. And you said your journey is very, very beautiful. But is it only beautiful, or has it been a roller coaster ride? Because being in film industry, I know what it takes to be outspoken, what it takes to be, to be a free-spirited woman who would not fear to talk her mind. So when you say beautiful, it looks little glorified to me.
No, to me it's beautiful because there has been a roller coaster ride. If my journey was not roller coaster, it wouldn't be beautiful. It would be very boring.
Oh, that's
so. Yeah. So that is why it's beautiful, because all the roller coaster ride teaches you how to manage yourself. The minute you are plunging down, you have to smile, you have to scream, you have to show out all your emotions. And that's why I said I have enjoyed my journey, because whether it was films or 10 years in politics, I think I love the roller coaster. Life itself is a roller coaster ride, Lakshmi, and that's what I believe in. And that's what it makes it so beautiful.
One bit you don't regret taking the plunge, right?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
You wanted to make a difference. You said you need to get into a better a place, a more powerful place, or you need to have that power to make a difference.
No, you just understand that when you're in politics, yes, it makes it a little more easier to speak, because when you're an individual, I saw that as an individual, the problems you could face. Somewhere they want to muzzle you, they don't want you to speak your mind. But the minute you're in politics, it does make a lot of difference. And I have realized that I'm not going to shy away and say that because of politics, in fact, I was made to speak certain lines. No. Despite of being in politics, 5 years of DMK and 5 years of Congress now, I think it has given me a larger platform to speak my mind. I am much more courageous than before. I'm much more bolder than before, and I'm much more outspoken than before. Nothing has changed. My party, yes, whether it was DMK or Congress, we do have a party line, but fortunately for me, there are parties where they do not force their minds or their thoughts on you. And I have very successfully spoken my mind. There have been times when, whether it was DMK or whether it was in the Congress, I do actually overstep that Lakshman Rekha at times, and I continue to speak my mind. But I think we all believe in democracy, and I definitely do take my democratic rights, my constitutional rights very, very seriously.
Super. Thank you so much, Khushbu. And over to Rahana. And we'll continue this because it's getting very, very interesting. Lots of questions I have for all of you. But before that, let us hear out Rahana. And Rahana, in your case, I think, it's different from Ms. Khushbu and Ms. Nupur.
Really, that's what I was just,
and if I'm not wrong, you come from a more conservative background. Does your background make it more difficult for you to come into the public space?
Not really, I would say, and possibly maybe I could just speak about this during the course of this evening. So, well, first, good evening to everyone, and thank you, Lakshmi, and thank you, Captain Vijay, for having me here. It's been a pleasure to be around such wonderful women, quite a lot of learning, and of course, we have one man in the panel as well, which is quite good to see. And I mean, women in politics, this is something quite a very, a very personal and a sensitive topic. And I think this is what has really motivated me to get into politics, start thinking on what is that I can do. I mean, my journey has been, as you rightly said, has been a little different to the other two women here in the panel today. I mean, yes, I come from a conservative, traditional family background, but that doesn't say that, I wasn't given the privileges as a woman, especially on the education front. That was something I'm really thankful to my parents. I think that was very, very fundamental. It shaped me, the person who I am today, and what I've achieved. So that's the first thing. So education is something which really, I mean, no matter whatever background you come from, but education really creates a difference to people's lives. And that played quite a vital role in my life, I would say. And in 2003 is when that magical moment in my life that happened, where after 9 years of marriage, having 2 children, I took up the courage to go talk to my husband and my in-laws to say, I really want to go abroad, do my MBA. Is that something you can support? So that was a big step that I took for my own self. And I feel that women in their life, I mean, we have different cultural aspects, and women shut themselves up thinking that we are married, we have children. But I don't think that should be an obstacle. I would take that as an experience, as a learning to develop yourself, to become more matured. And I took the initiative to go speak to my husband and my children. Of course, they were quite young at that time. And then that's where my whole transformation happened, I would say, where I came to the UK, I did my MBA, I could share what Nupur said, that the experience of meeting people from different countries, and that really made me start think, because politics was something which I have an interest, but has never been a serious choice though, because I mean, the priorities are different while you have your family life, your career life. But there comes a stage in your life, where you really start you stop for a moment, you reflect, you pause, and you see, what is that I have to do? Where is that I can create a difference? And these kind of questions is where really were bothering me a lot. And then one fine day, as usual, I always give shockers to my family, I just came to my husband and I said, I want to get into politics. And it was a big shocker to everyone. And what happened? I think you have a good family, you have a good business. And I mean, I just said, I always aspired to do something rather than to become something. That has always been my fundamental aspect on whatever I do. be it in career or be it in business or be it in family. So because as a woman, I have multiple roles. And in every role, I see like, I have to do something rather than to become something. And second thing is, we talk about bringing in change. I was looking up for role models. Is that something I can learn from them? So, and then the other aspect was, I mean, being a migrant Muslim woman here, the perception of a Muslim woman that they have, they are suppressed, oppressed. And that's something was also bothering me a lot because during my career years in the UK, I mean, I have my last job when I exited and took into business, I was a program director managing a team of over 200 people worldwide. I was constantly asked, oh, I mean, how come you are qualified so well? How come you're in such a a senior or leadership position? And that's something was always that stereotypical nature. And what is that one thing which I do could really change that perception? So these kind of and of course, I mean, I've achieved success in my career here and family after coming to the UK, and that sense of giving back something to the community, that was something also really triggered in me to get into politics. And of course, it wasn't an easy ride. I could see the other women here in the panel as well had similar experiences. And first and foremost was one thing I was blessed, and I'm really thankful to God, is I had the support of my family. And that's something very important for women, I feel, to have that support, to build that ally, to build that network, without which you can't succeed, either be in family or your careers or your political aspirations. So in that way, the first strength I had was the family support, where they believed in me. They felt like, yes, Rehana has aspirations, she needs to be supported. And the other questions coming in my mind were, where do I start? I mean, I don't come from a political family, but I had that innate, that leadership skills, of questioning skills. That's something I could share with what Nupur said, always being having that question kind of mindset, asking why is it so, what can be done, how can this be improved. So that's something I had, which really made me think, let's get into politics. And it was on March 28th, 2016, I decided, yes, I need to take the plunge now. No more point just being as an observer and complaining about it. And so there were enough reasons for motivations for me to get into. And then 28, I decided to join the Labour Party because I had more a balanced kind of a socialist view, I would say, because I believe in an equal society. And the place where I live is purely a Labour-dominant, a Labour-led local government. And so I thought, yes, I think most of the favorite among the migrants is the Labour Party. So I joined the party as a member. But I mean, coming from a corporate background and coming from a business background, I always believe in working on deadlines. And that's where I decided I give 1 year to myself. If I have to make it, it should be within the next 1 year. Otherwise, there's no point. This is not the right place for me to be in. And so I don't know where to start. That's where, I mean, for me, one of the biggest thing which gave me the success in this country is my knowledge, my skills, and my experience. And that's where I was able to really stand out from this crowd here in my career aspect. And I applied the same logic on the political forefront as well. And on researching, I got to know about the Fabian Women's Network Mentoring Program.
Ms. Rehana.
Yeah.
So I want to talk in
yes,
detail about that.
I will certainly. So that's where because I believe that, I mean, I don't have the political...
We'll take it for the next round because
I didn't have the right political support in terms of big mentors to drive in, but I believed that I can equip myself with the knowledge and skills because I had good amount of corporate competence.
Come back to you for that.
Yes, absolutely. I'll pause in there, and that's where then, after a few months of getting into that mentoring program, then I realized that again that that excitement. Yes, let's get into it and see. So I had two choices. One in my.
Nice to see you excited even now. That
yeah, absolutely. The excitement is always there.
I think all the women, all the distinguished panelists are still very excited about what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And then,
right? Yeah, and then in March, on March 23rd, I contested the election in the City of London Corporation. So I had two choices. One in my residential place, predominantly Asian dominated, where it was quite an easy win if I were to get into that. But I always love challenges. The harder the challenges, the bigger the rewards. That's something I'm wired like that. And so I decided, let me get into the City of London where I have my business there. And purely a male dominated system, and it's in fact it's the oldest it's older than the British Parliament, so it's over 950 years is what the City of London Corporation is. So I decided, jumped into it, and I had a lot of
How do you
obstacles.
feel about it now?
I feel I mean, you get that, wow, we did something.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
you've taken the right decision.
Absolutely, no regrets. And I contested against people who were sitting there for 33 years. One was 17 years. And I was constantly questioned, challenged during my campaigns, but that didn't deter me. And it was, I mean,
one secret aspect which led to your success, because you're very new to this. You didn't have a political background, and you went to a different country, right? So with all this, what made you succeed? One aspect, just tell me in one word.
It's my individuality. I never changed for someone else, and I carried myself the way I am, my convictions.
What set you apart as a politician, as a successful politician?
I mean, there are several things, but as I said, see, it was my individuality, because if you see, I haven't changed my accent yet. This is who I am, my convictions. And I mean, I wear saris to all the events here, and that's my identity. I see that as my power dressing, where I feel very, powerful when I go in a sari. So, I mean, that individuality is what, made me driven and brought me to where I am today. And so on March 23rd, 2017, I won the election, which was 5 days before my target date of year which I had. And I became the first Indian-born woman to be ever elected in the City of London Corporation in their 950 years. So it's been an amazing journey, and I would really it's so nice to see so many participants here who have taken the time out to come. So I think that's the first tick in the box to say that people are interested in this topic. And so I would encourage all the others here to get into this and make a difference.
Super. Thank you so much, Rahana. And there are three key words I got from this conversation until now. One is Ms. Nupur said it was her calling. She recognized her calling. It was a very strong calling that she said, okay, let me take the plunge. And you talked about giving back to the society. That is something which inspired you, or which pushed you. That was a fire in you. And Ms. Khushbu also said the same thing. She wanted to make a difference. She said, if this is happening to me with so much of, already she had a very successful career. She had her own reputation, her name in the industry, but still she had to face, such problems. So she said, I want to make a difference to the ordinary women, people who are facing this day in and day out. So these three things really mattered. So there should be an inner calling, something which pushes you to this place. So going to the next question, for that matter, in any career, you take any career for that matter, you need the skills, you need, specific and domain knowledge, and you need the skill set, everything, and you need to be competitive, you need to be, updated, that's there in every field. But when it comes to politics, how is it? Is it different? Or is it okay to look at politics as a career option? Have you ever considered this as a career option? And what is it that you recommend? Like, see, when Ms. Khushbu was talking, she was talking about her mentor. She said she had, she did have the opportunity to have a mentor, somebody to guide her through this in the early years of her entering politics. So there are some politicians who come from families already having political background, or like Miss Khushbu, she already has a star vehicle, I would say, to travel. She traveled with that in that. Okay, so otherwise, a young girl, like, I don't know about Nupur, I don't know about her political connections, but it is just her education, her exposure, which help her enter this competitive world, where even now, women in politics is not a rule. It is all, it's still now it's an exception, right? So we are so fascinated seeing all of you, because for me, let me tell you about me. When I look at you, I wonder how you people manage to get there, because from a layman's point of view, from a person who doesn't have a political background, I find it really scary. To tell you very frankly, from here, when you look at it, you don't know what sort of things you can expect there. So what do you do to fill this gap? How do you encourage, whether, three questions I have in this session. That is, one, is politics a career option? Have you looked at it as a career option? Second, how do you fill this gap? Like, the aspirations and the achievements. Do you really need a godfather or a mentor? And do you think that godfather has to be a man? That's a question I have from. It is necessary to have a male godfather there to get where you have got?
Who goes in
So
first?
who do we start with? We start with Ms. Nupur.
Okay. Well, basically, I would be lying if I said that I did not have somebody mentoring me. Considering that I started very young, at the age of 22, 23, it is actually a very, very young age. And a lot of people after student union politics, it's the groundmost of politics that you'll find, groundmost ever in the Indian structure. After that, a lot of people actually drop it, go out, settle their families, build their careers elsewhere. And if at all they decide to come back, they do. Otherwise, a lot of people don't even take the plunge of coming back here. People like me have done it solely because there have been people looking out for us. Sometimes even when I've been on TV for so long that I get tired. To be honest, everything has a saturation, and I'm not somebody who's just come 3 years ago on television. I've been on TV since 2008. So sometimes, it is like, oh my God, how much of TV can you possibly do? But if I may, in India, it's a huge country with over 130 crore people. You need to understand that to make yourself a known face, a telegenic face. Nothing to take personally, but even we have such cases. Like Khushbu ji is a very well-known face across India. So if she goes and stands in a corner, people will flock because, we want a picture with you, we want your autograph, so on and so forth. Yet, she also would have realized that politics is a different ball game altogether when it comes to legwork. Whereas, so people like me who actually grew up in the system, I literally grew up, I aged in the system, and I'm still very young. We have to make our face known, and we have to make our names known. So, that kind of struggle of legwork plus face value, it's double the kind of effort. But then I'm young, so I have nothing to complain about. I would be lying if I said that I don't have a mentor. I have people who have looked out for me, and if I did not have a mentor, I would have been given a ticket at the age of. I was only 29 years old when I fought Vidhan Sabha election, a legislative election in India, assembly election in India. So it's even now, there are issues that I have to face in the party or outside the party or whatever it is. There are ideas or something that I think the party should do to better on some policy or some objective that we have. I have to go and speak to some senior people. No, I do not think that you necessarily need to have a male mentor. We had a party which for the longest time did have a female mentor, now late Sushma ji, who ensured that a lot of women actually come about. In fact, now since I'm in the BJP, when I was leaving the ABVP, I used to be one of 1.5 women. I used to say 1.5 women in Delhi unit simply because my parents had just given up. Rather, they were very supportive. They were like, you have to do this, then you do it. Whereas the other girl, her parents would never allow her to come for meetings outside of Delhi. So you understand how difficult it is, because parents would feel it's not very safe because you're only two women. After I left the Vidyarthi Parishad, which is the student wing of the RSS, I must say that I have been responsible and instrumental in getting a lot of women also to join in. There was a time there were people who were kingmakers in my case, and then there came a time wherein I was the person responsible for ensuring that women win the elections that they stand for. Now you have more women in the ABVP Delhi unit than men. So it is our responsibility. Never think that since conventionally politics is a man's world, we don't have the responsibility to harness skills, to harness any talent, and to shelter these girls and to ensure that we are inducting them and we are mentoring them. So I was being mentored 10 years ago. Now I'm mentoring what I was doing, girls for what I was doing 10 years ago. And now obviously I still have mentors in the party. I would be lying, and I'm not going to be mincing my words. You need somebody, especially in a completely democratic system like BJP, you need somebody to look out for you ultimately, to see what you're doing, where you're doing, are you being promoted at the right time, at the right place, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely fantastic, Ms. Nupur. Thank you so much. Ms. Khushbu, over to you. So do you look at politics as a career option, and what do you feel about a godfather? With and without
Lakshmi, politics cannot be a career option, because politics, I don't look at it as a career. What are you going to make as a career? It's not a business where you're saying that, okay, it's my career and I'm going to work on it. Politician is something, the name, what you say, politician is, it sounds good. So we say, I'm a politician. But when you look at an elected person, an elected politician, or any politician for that matter, let's understand, we are basically public servants. So that is, we are here to do odd jobs for the public, right from the Prime Minister to the lowest, any politically affiliated cadre. We are public servants. It's just that we like the word politician, so we get it attached to that. I look at it as someone who is here to do work for the people, to go around and work for the people. It's definitely not a career option for me. I've never looked at it as a career where I have to build a career for myself. No. When I say mentor, what I meant is, when I came to politics, like Nupur said, I had made a name for myself. I had seen the peak of my career. I had made my name, fame, money, everything. So I'm not into politics looking at any of the headline news or the front page news or cover magazines. No, I have seen it all. And politics was new. So for me, somebody like Dr. Kalinga taking me under his wings, because I inducted myself into politics in his party under his leadership. So he giving me the basic nuances. The first thing what he taught me is using the right kind of language when you're in politics. Never once he would have said that I need to use any kind of disrespecting language or calling somebody a name. It was always like, in Tamil you say, Medai Nagarigam, the basic how you behave on a stage. And that is one thing which he taught me, whether it was in my speeches or my movement, anything. The first thing he taught me is how to respect others. And when you talk about respectability, when you talk about self-respect, I think that's where DMK comes forward, Swaya Maryadai, and that is what I learned from him. For me, mentor is not to be a man or a woman. But being in politics, you're a successful person and you're in politics, so it makes it easy for you. No, it doesn't. In fact, it makes it doubly difficult for you, because it's a very personal experience. I've seen a lot of men getting completely intimidated. Like Nupurji said, that you go somewhere and you are a crowd puller in a meeting. People are waiting to listen to you. The minute I have literally witnessed, I finish, in a public meeting, I finish giving my speech and people just, boom, they disappear. So I have seen men literally getting completely intimidated with my presence, in my presence. I'm there for a meeting, their pictures are not there, and they would openly say, our photos are not putting. You're going to put her pictures. We won't be anywhere in the pictures. So, they start getting a little worried, or they get the insecurities start showing up. So I have experienced all of that, whether it was DMK or even now in Congress. So I'm used to it. But then I like the fact that I do, make men feel intimidated, however powerful they are. So I like the fact that I have that kind of a persona, and I've built that. I have worked hard for that, and I'm very happy that when you walk into a room, you do make a difference. Men turn around, look at you, and they know that there is somebody in the room, and they cannot mess around with. So I like that I've built a persona, and that's a complete self-built persona, and I'm very happy about it. So it's not easy when you're a successful person coming into politics. Probably inducting yourself in a political party could be easy, but then to sustain it, to make a presence felt, to go ahead with your conviction is definitely not easy.
So it was no less a struggle for you.
It's double the struggle.
Oh, absolutely. Fine. Fantastic. That's very, very interesting. Over to Rahana. And Rahana, I would like you to talk about your mentoring process, how, like what Ms. Khushbu was saying, it is not about a mentor. It is about grooming yourself to be a successful politician with, you what to say, acquire the necessary skill sets and the knowledge to go forward. So tell us about your grooming process, and because your entry was very different, right? It was
yeah, I mean, when I could hear from both the other women, mine is totally different. I think I would relate myself more to many other participants who are sitting there and watching us, because I come from that place. And so where I didn't have, I had my professional recognition as a seasoned IT professional and as a businesswoman. But that was within my own professional network. But beyond that, to create this difference, as I just mentioned during my starting, during the start, it was this mentoring program which I joined. And so, I mean, here in the UK, one good thing is you are respected for your talent, your skills. And if you have that urge in you, and you're honest, you show that sincerity that you're here to do something, then people really value you, and they bring you on the forefront. So in that way, UK is a very differently positioned, I would say, and that has really worked out in my favor, because my biggest strength, as I said, was my education, my competencies, which I had developed the last 25 years. And the mentoring program, I was assigned a MP, Ruth Cadbury, who is the MP of my residential place where I live in. And so we used to meet over a lunch or a dinner once every month, where I go prepared. When I say mentoring, it's not about someone hand-holding you and saying, oh, Rehana, do this A, B, C, you will get C, D, E. It's not that. It was more about what I wanted, what I aspired, and where is that I needed the guidance. So for me, the first thing was I wanted some help in understand the decision-making process. And then I had certain skill sets from my work experience. How is that I translate that into a wider public context? Like Khushbu just mentioned about respecting people, the etiquettes of when you get into a public domain. So those were the kind of areas which I really needed some advice and mentoring, and that really helped me. And when you see a lot of other people, you get...
You were talking about social media management.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in terms of the presence, and that's something I really worked very hard because I'm not a well-known face. Again, in politics, no godfathers, no mentors. But of course, I mean, Ruth really gave me a very good insight. And of course, Christine, Caroline, who were part of the Fabian Women's Network mentoring program, they did connect us with really good women who were willing to share their knowledge. So that's something also I realized that over the process, it's not about just it's about the aspiration to share your knowledge. And that's something I learned from the other women there, who are these bunch of women who support other women for them to shine. And that was something very helpful for me. And of course, we need the competency skills. And that was the biggest thing, which was my election, message, where I said, because my ward is purely a business ward. It is only businesses that vote there, the employees who vote there. And my message was very clear. When you are recruiting a person to your organization with the set competency, skills and experience, what is it different from this? So now I've made the competition quite hard for you, that even I'm equally competent with the experience and skills. So it's up to you now who you want the best. So that has really worked, and mentoring, of course, has helped. And from a career aspect, which you said, I don't think it is politics as a career. Yes, of course, it's a job. It has accountability. It has responsibility. But as a career, there is always, when you say career, you always look up for a definite, tangible outcome. But here, the outcome is much more social. And again, the fundamental aspiration where I wanted to give something to the community, change the perception. So these cannot be really tangible in terms of when you say you have a career in politics. I would say it's a more service based, and that satisfaction that you really made the difference, and you've paved a way for other women to create the difference, and you leave the world with a good legacy. I think those are the things are my views, I would say, on your questions.
Wonderful, Rehana. One question: if you were in India, you would have taken the same plunge?
Yes, absolutely. Because the drive is the same, isn't it? Whichever country you are in, end of the day, it's the drive, and it's the attitude, the aspiration, and the passion on what you want to do. So that is where it didn't stop me. Though my origin is from India, but though I live in UK, it doesn't mean that I have to be in India to create some difference. It's the place where you are, and what is that you could do.
Super. So all the three women leaders had one thing to say: they're giving back to the society and they want to make a difference. That's so wonderful. And Captain, should we open the
yes,
open it to the audience for
yes,
questions?
yes. I think like 15-20 minutes there. We'll try and squeeze in, because I know each one of the panelists are very busy. So we'll stick to the timing. I think we have a NGPL National President, Priyadarshini, is there. Priya, you have any question to the panelists? And I also request the panelists, you address specifically to one of the panelists whom you want to ask the question. Priya, over to you.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. I just cannot stop myself from not asking a question, because we cannot ask for a better panelist here. And just to give a quick understanding about Next Gen Political Leaders, is a small initiative which we are trying for all youngsters to join politics. So we are motivating youngsters to join politics. And actually, normally a woman working and managing a family is surely a challenge. And I'm sure politics is not a very conventional job as well. So how is it, how are you actually managing the taboo of being into politics? Because it is considered not very womanly to be into politics. So how is it you're managing? In fact, this is an open question for all three of you. Well, I think more than Rehana ma'am, it will be more relevant to Khushbu ma'am and the other panelists we have here. So probably if you could just tell us, how are you managing the taboo of being in politics?
Hi, I don't think there's something called taboo being in politics. I think, it's very important that how much of support you get from your family, that matters a lot. Most of the women don't come into politics is because, 10 years of political life, I have seen that many places, women do get the tickets, but eventually it will be either the husband or the brother or the father-in-law or the father who's, fighting the elections. That's because they don't want a woman, with the patriarchy mindset where men still do not want women to give them the orders. That's the only problem. If the day men decide that women are equal, and if they're capable of taking care of a family, they can definitely take care of the society. If the day they start thinking the other way around, I think it's going to really be very helpful. So it's not taboo, but then I think most of the women do not find the support system in politics, and that's a problem here.
There's a question from the YouTube viewers, is addressed to both Nupur as well as to Khushbu madam. If you are made a PM for one day, what will be your priority?
See, all these things are very cinematic. You can't bring in, you want to bring in so many changes in the country with, probably me being in Congress and Nupur being in the other party, BJP, the ruling party. there are times when we disagree with what the Prime Minister has to say, but there are times when we agree with him also. We find him very aggressive, like we have seen him in recent times, the problems we have been facing on the border of Ladakh, at LAC. We agree with his point. But there are times when you feel that probably he could have acted a little faster, a little quicker. But I don't think that you can bring in a change in any country within a day. That one thing you want to, this is not Miss World or Miss Universe pageant, that if you're made a prime minister, and what would be your answer that's going to give you the crown. No, you don't run the country by thinking that you could be a prime minister for a day and bring in the change. It's a long process, and my complete respect to our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, for continuing the work what he has been doing. Of course, being in the opposition, we will have a few words of opposition for him, opposing his policies and his strategies. But apart from that, it's not easy to be a Prime Minister. So we need to appreciate with the work our Prime Minister is doing at the moment.
Super. Nupur, do you have any quick rapid fire question? What you answer?
There are two things I actually want to say. One, that earlier I want to say, the first point that Khushbu made is absolutely right. One, you have to be strong enough to be in politics. Obviously, it's public service, because public life puts you out there. And she's absolutely right that your own presence, actually makes a lot of people, it rattles a lot of people, and it threatens them as well. And I think that's why, because my journey has been a little different, all the more reason that you need somebody looking out for you, because otherwise my half-an-hour debate on TV actually rattles a lot of people and a lot of hearts. That's actually a fact of politics. Secondly, I want to come back to this point. I will take actually two questions, the earlier one as well. If you already are married and then into politics, so you're lucky. People like me, what I do in my real life, what I do on television, and including some people from the opposition, they don't actually stop short, and men, which is really unbecoming actually when you are trying to promote women into this life. Ghar mein kya karti hogi? What do you do in the house if you're speaking like this on television? Sometimes I really feel like, mere paas, I'll tell you what I do in the house. No, literally, it is because they have nothing to counter you with. They're shaken, their souls are so bloody shaken. How can a woman have an opinion and be so loud about it? Now, becoming a prime minister, obviously, this is not a wishful thinking game. However, if I were to actually make a call, I know this is going to sound, I'm going to make a lot of enemies, and I'm going to probably make a hate club by the end of it. But after my years of having seen how a government process works, I'm not in the government, I'm a spokesperson of the ruling party, and what it takes to get any kind of small work also done. I think it is important that in India, we have domain experts running the government machinery, rather than people who have been educated, trained in something, skilled in something else, and doing something completely different. That just means that we need to perhaps rebuild the UPSC government bureaucracy system a bit. It's really not doing us a favor. Red tapeism has become like a daily ritual for all of us Indians. And that sort of actually stops the progress to a certain way. Currently, we do have them. We rely on them to run the government and all its departments. In fact, the entire state. But wishful thinking again, it would be better if we have somebody who's a domain expert doing exactly what the domain requires for actual results.
Oh my God, what a powerful point you put forth.
Yes.
It's absolutely mind-blowing. And
Yes.
hats off to the courage to do that. Okay.
I made a lot of enemies. I have been saying it for so long, I've made a lot of enemies. I know that already. But then that's how I think, because that's how I've seen governments very closely work, not just in India. I've been sent on so many programs, not just CASIA. I have seen how governments function, and for a poor person, what it might take to actually, so the leader might want the work to be done. But in between those 100 people who will stop you from even your 10 rupee worth of work done, that's what we need to change if we really want to progress. And I think some out of the box thinking might be required.
Point. And when you said, since you mentioned poor person, Captain, can I put forth a question for all the three?
Yes, please, go ahead. There are a couple of questions. Please go ahead, madam. But I know why even Aruna used to be very, very, how you used to manage and think. Now I know. Yes, over to you, madam. You can ask the question.
Yeah.
It has to be rapid fire action, rapid fire answer. So that
you come from very affluent backgrounds, if I'm not mistaken. So say that there is someone who's aspiring to be a politician. She comes from a very lower middle class or middle class family. So does this okay, she wants to give back to the society. You say this is not a career option. She wants to give back to the society, and there is an inner calling. So does it require investments? Does it require that backup, to brand yourself, to promote yourself? So we want a very frank answer from you, because this is going to guide. I think there was a young girl who is an aspiring politician. She's also grooming a lot of young students, encouraging them to get into this foray. So it will be very useful to get a
yes, please go ahead.
Right from the horse's mouth. Yeah.
Who should start first? I think Khushbu.
Yes, Khushbu, madam, you would like to start first? Yeah.
Okay, I think it's definitely, I'm not going to be sugarcoating the words. It is not an easy place to be in. It's a very difficult place with too many men around. You have to be mentally very strong, extremely strong, because you say you have to be thick-skinned, buffalo-skinned. No, I would say that you have to be rhinoceros skin. Nothing should penetrate in you. And I think patience really pays. You don't have to really respond to what people, there will be people who will be character assassinating you. There will be people who will be talking behind you. There might be a few men who would say a few things right on your face. But I think you have to be, if you are very, very determined to make a name for yourself in politics, climb the ladders and do make a difference, then I think it's very important, first and foremost, have a lot of hard work. Be seen. You can't shy away from doing a work saying that, this, as a woman, I can't do it. I can't be on the street. I can't be going for dharnas. I can't be out in the scorching sun. No, you have to do all kinds of odd jobs. You have to be out on the street. You have to raise the voice. You have to be, whether you believe it or not, you have to raise your voice. I think that's the first and foremost thing you have to do. And most importantly, at any given point, do not lose your individuality, because that is going to be your focal point. That is going to be your winning point, that you have an individuality of your own. You have something about yourself which makes people look at you, whether it's your voice, the way you conduct yourself, and the way you conduct meetings, or the way you are there in there for the people to see. I think it's very important that you need to learn few nuances about politics. Fear cannot be your other name. Courage has to be your first name, and anything else can come later. I think that's what I would sum it up, actually.
Thank you so much, Ms. Khushbu. And Rahana, over to you. And do you think your financial independence and the affluence also a little more comfortable place to
I could this is something I'm asked quite often. I mean, before going answering this question, I just wanted to share one point in terms of your previous question, in terms of where we are asked, women are asked, how do you manage at home and things with this kind of I would say two things here. One, yes, women are inherently multitaskers. That's something that's a given. God, biologically, we are like that. The second thing is, on a serious note, we talk about gender parity, we talk about women's rights. I think the fundamental questioning itself, the narrative itself is wrong here. Because why is that this question has to be posed only to a woman? Why can't a man be questioned? So is it, are we taking it for granted that it's a woman's job, labeling it as this is a woman's job, this is a man's job? Then the whole, the aspect of gender parity doesn't at all holds good in its sense. So I think now with the handful of women that we have around on the political forefront, I think we all now need to start thinking, why don't we reverse that question? Why do we change that narrative and start asking even the men, how do you manage the family and how do you manage your political life? I think that's something I would like to make people think here, start thinking that we are in the 2020 now, a new era, a new decade. So why should the narrative be like this? So it's time now for change. And in terms of the other question which you asked me on the financial aspect, and I'll be quite honest with you, yes, financial independence is needed. because I mean, you have your bills to pay, you have your living expenses that takes priority in anyone's life, and that is where the family support system comes into place. So this is where there can be support given on the financial side, that from your individual personal perspective. But from a wider political perspective, I mean, to give you my own example, I would say, like, you know, I used social media extensively. That's something, I mean, it comes without cost, and I utilized it in the right way. And that really helped me. And I mean, when my expenditure during my election campaign was significantly less, I was a bit surprised. I mean, how effectively we did this. So that's one thing. And that has really, like, you know, if you see the current electors, majority are the highest population are the youth population, if you see in most of the countries, and they are quite closely connected on social media. So that shouldn't deter you that you need a lot of money, but you can make use of the resources that are available around you. And second thing is, we hear about fundraising, crowdfunding for businesses. So why can't that be applied to from a political perspective as well? So I think if you have a powerful campaign, you have a powerful vision, I'm sure people will come in and do the crowdfunding for you, that you could really bring in a difference. I think these avenues are available, and people should explore into these things and change that, like, you know, the conventional thinking that politics is money and money is needed for everything. It's not. It's changing now, and that's the direction we need to go.
Calls for an applause, isn't it? Yes. Someone whistling here. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, Lakshmiji, I'll go back to where you started. You said that education is very important, and I completely agree that a career is something else. So, as my parents have often said, an educated person will never go home or never go to sleep on an empty stomach. So it's very important that you educate yourself. Obviously, when you take a plunge, you have to forego a bit of what you could actually earn if you were only doing one thing. For example, if I was only practicing law, I would be making maybe 10 times the amount of money that I am making right now. But then that's the kind of sacrifice that you have to make, and you have to be ready to make it. So, like I said, if it's a calling, it's a calling. So you need to be sure. Thankfully, for a person like me, I can write articles and I can write a book because I have educated myself to such an extent that I can actually have a well-informed, opinionated say, and it will also sell. So that's the kind of that balance that you need to take out. Yes, it helps. Rehana ji was right to have a family who will financially support you. Not all of us come with a paraphernalia to ensure that we have a brand name and we have a PR exercise in place. No, it doesn't work like that. Social media is the most free and in fact freewheeling form of marketing what you have done. It's very important. Like, I agree with Khushbu-ji, it's important to market what you've done. In fact, we have the biggest example, our Prime Minister in 2014, when the entire media was against him. He won that election thanks to his one-to-one communication with the voters. He actually cut right across the importance of mainstream media, use social media to his advantage. It's absolutely free. And that's also a tool that people like me use, because we cannot afford to, have somebody doing our PR. I think we can manage it on our own. Anyway, our TV appearances is manage it more than much for us. So yes, it's a balance that you need to take a call on. Law is a career that you can balance. If you're an independent practitioner, you can balance with politics. You can, nowadays there are too many careers. I see people are making careers out of digital media, on social media. Somebody is a social media influencer. Nowadays, I realize, what is this influencer business? People are making much more money than a trained advocate or an IT professional or an actress even will make. So I think these things also matter. Look out for how you can feed your mouth. Look out for how your family can support you. And if you want to do it, don't let anything stop you. And I agree, you need a big stomach for it, because you have to be ready for anything thrown at you.
Super. There's a question which has come from YouTube. I mean, number of questions come. I'll restrict to 2-3 more before we come to end, because we already reached almost the time. Do you think the 33% reservation will become a reality in your lifetime?
Is that a question you're asking to me?
Each one of you can quickly say yes or no.
I honestly believe it will. However, we need to have some checks and balances in place. Just because you're married to somebody or somebody's daughter-in-law or somebody's daughter does not mean you have the first birthright. You want proper representation. Let it come from people who've actually done the legwork.
Super. Khushbu, you got any view on this?
I'm saying, why are we even looking at 33%? You're asking, we talk about equality, women going beyond men. So why are we looking at 33%? I would say at least look at 50%, because we always keep fighting that women are equal to men, and in fact, a little more powerful mentally. So I think 33% should have been a reality by now. Unfortunately, it's not. But like I said much before, it's because, and like even Nupur rightly put it across, that, you know, your connections, you being related to someone, they actually pulling the wires at the right point delays the process of at least 33% of women in the parliament. So I think 33% is much less. I would, a rebel like me, would say that I would say aim it at 50.
Super. Yes.
Mr.
Go
Hammond.
ahead. Anything?
Yes, I mean, 33% is a good starter. I mean, something is better than nothing, I would say. But eventually, where we say we are 50% of the world's population are women, then the nice to have would be 50% women's representation. And how could we achieve this is one fundamental thing. Even here in the UK as well, if you see, there is quite a high emphasis on equality and women's representation. But where the fundamental lag is, we now have an interest of women, like, coming to join into politics, but it is about more of the parties who want to place where to place the women. They should place them in winnable seats, not just as a tick boxing exercise where they said they have given tickets to so many women candidates, but it is about again, the percentage can be achieved only when you see the results. So if they are made to stand in winnable seats, then that would be quite a very good step forward, which would fast track in terms of getting that 33% and eventually the 50% quota.
Unfortunately, we just have 14% of women represented in parliament today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very sad.
That's the highest we've ever had, actually.
Yeah, we cannot celebrate that. 40%, come on.
Very disappointing.
Maybe one last question before then I request Lakshmi to go to the concluding remarks. Who is the woman politician you emulate or want to emulate? Actually, each one of you can quickly tell so that others will know what.
I can't hear you. Vijayji, can you?
Who is the woman politician you would like to emulate or want to emulate? Emulate which?
Who do we start with?
Start with you, man.
Oh.
The number of questions are addressed to you, actually. I'm only balancing. Most of the questions that come to Khushbu, madam. So.
Okay. No, I wouldn't want to emulate anyone. Yes, there have been political leaders, women leaders who have always admired somebody like right from the time of Sarojini Naidu or Indira Gandhi ji, Madam Jayalalitha. I have respected them, but I would say that I don't want to emulate anyone. Let me try and leave a mark for myself. Why should I be somebody else? Why would I want to be like somebody else? They have made a mark for themselves. Yes, we look up to them, saying that they have made a huge difference to the society, to the country, to the state. But I wouldn't want to emulate them. I would say that I would like to work my way up where people look up to me and say that there was one leader who did things on her terms for the betterment of the society and the people.
Sorry, before I request others, there's one question specifically come for you, Khushbu. They say, okay. Khushbu madam, don't you think that you can be the second line leader and can reach higher heights in DMK if you had continued there? Have you regretted leaving DMK?
No,
me, why did I quit DMK? And yeah, many people keep asking. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so they said.
So your voice is cracking. You're muted actually.
Okay, I'm so sorry. My just tripped.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So where am I? I have been going somewhere.
Not why you left.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I have never given out a reason why I quit DMK. But I have just followed what my mom taught me in my growing up period, growing up time. My mom always said, if you don't find respect somewhere, move away. And that's what I did. I moved away because I thought if I have to compromise on my respectability, my individuality, and my self esteem, I rather be away from that place. And that's exactly what I did. I walked away from DMK. So I don't think things would have been different had I been in DMK. Probably I wouldn't have left with so much of respect towards the party, towards the fold, and towards my leader, Dr. Kalingar, if I had continued to stay in DMK. So I'm glad that I quit the party at the right time.
Thank you. Nupur, you would like to say now whom you would like to emulate, or you are already emulating?
I do agree. We are in. We have come here to actually make our own name. So, no, emulation is certainly not going to make any difference to us or even to the society, because you're only a repetition of what has been. Right? However, if there is a quality I would like to borrow, it would be from, and perhaps learn now, try my best to learn, is perhaps from the late Sushma Swaraj ji. Her people management, her cadre management, and the fact that if she met you today, she'll remember your name and every detail of the conversation you had with her, even if you met her only once, 10 years later, is something that I wish I had that quality, that, you know, that photographic memory and that affable nature towards public and cadre alike.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a interesting question, I would say. In terms of, like, you know, I did mention in the start of the conversation, there are not enough role models in our society to look up to. So from that aspect, it is more on, like, you know, looking up for inspiration and motivation. And yes, every individual is unique. They come with their own strengths and weaknesses. But on the political front, I would say, in my personal opinion, is I don't like, you know, have someone where I could say I would like to emulate exactly like them, but I would like to take their learnings, their aspirations, or what the charm they bring into the like, you know, the public domain. So because everyone is unique and everyone has their own like, you know, abilities, and I'm someone who will look up for these kind of learnings from different women, and then build something with me as an individual, who I am, and what I could really add value into the whole ecosystem. So it's a learning across all the different women. I think today, even in this forum as well, there's a lot of learning from all the different individuals here. And so I think that's the key message that we need to take, rather than, like, you know, just focusing on one particular individual, but how is that we can learn from everyone. That's my take on this.
Lakshmi, maybe before I request the concluding remark, you would like to request the panelists their final comments before we close each one of them quickly. Over to you, Lakshmi.
I think you've already requested them. I think they should just go ahead so that we don't waste time. Yeah.
Yes, we'll start with the
final, you know.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Nupur, we'll start from you.
So, I would say for every aspiring woman politician, don't let anything scare you, but make a calculative, well thought out move. Ensure that you've completed your education. Very, very important, I would say. And yeah, just don't let anything bog you down, because other people's opinions don't matter. They don't make you. You make yourself. You have to decide, and you have to chart out your future. And if you have that passion, if you have that light in you, in my case, like calling, that you have to give back to the society, and you think you can do it, then just go right.
Yes, Khushbu ma'am, yours?
Yeah, I think every woman who wants to be in politics, age should not be the barrier. Do not play the caste cards on your hands. And most importantly, I would say be courageous. Have the courage to face anything that probably is going to come your way. And I'm not going to mince my word. A lot of dirty things will come your way, but you need to be courageous. More than education, I would suggest, because probably women, though we say that every woman has to be educated, let that not be a barrier for you to come into politics. I'm not educated. I quit school when I was in 8th. So I don't think education should be the criteria, or the criteria should be the fire in you, the zest in you, the courage in you, that you want to make a difference. And please do not think or treat politics as a career or a money-making business. It's not. Okay, so you just have to be courageous. You need to have that fire to keep going, to make a difference. And if you have that, then nothing like it. But yes, education or not educated, I think it's important that you become very, very financially reliable, because you do not know how long it's going to take for you to become something in politics. It is a long journey. It is a very, very long journey. You don't become something overnight. So you have to be financially stable. So make sure that you are, and then just take the plunge.
Yeah, quite interesting. Good to know your views. And what I would say is, I see democracy as a means of, like, correcting historical wrongs. So there have been mistakes made in the past, but I mean, today, this session, I mean, what MMA has organized, I would say it's a very good first step, and the kind of number of participants that have been viewing us, that itself is a first success, I would say, where people have really started thinking about these aspects, that we need more women in politics. And you all have really, like, built a ray of hope in the 500 million women of India, that their voices will be heard. And we have amazing people here who have really started thinking seriously on this. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I would just say, like, as I always say to everyone, be who you are, and take accountability of what you want to do. Because if you think that you're accountable to the environment, to the world, and we leave this place as a better a planet for our future generations, then the time is now to act. And if you don't do it now, then when will you do it? So if you really want to bring in a change, you want to create a difference, you want to create a legacy for yourself, then I think the time is now, and you need to get into it. Just be yourself and take things as they come along. You don't need to be prepared with everything, with all the ammunition to face the world. It's about just get into it, learn as learn with the flow, and over the years you will be successful. And that determination and the drivenness is quite important. And I mean, as they say, like, generally at my homes, they say, like, if mama thinks that she wants to do it, she will make it happen. So that's what most of the women we get to hear within our families. So when we can have that kind of thought process within our families, then what stops us to making that change happen in a wider context? So that's all I would say. And thank you very much for having me here. It was a pleasure, and I really enjoyed every moment of this session today. And I wish luck and the best wishes to all the aspiring women here, and the men for their support. They should not be forgotten, because they equally play a vital role in our lives. So it's all hand in hand that we can achieve the aspiration of that 50% gender parity within our communities or societies, be it in politics or be it in the private sector. Thank you very much.
Peter, would like to ask any question? Peter, Pankaj, any one of you before you're unmute?
Okay, can I?
Yes, please. Go ahead, Pankaj.
Well, first of all, if I was wearing a hat, it's hats off. I really admire our panelists and also our moderator as well. But just this particular thing was bothering me, and that is if you take the Indian Parliament and if you take 20 years as a generation, there are 3 generations present in the Indian Parliament. Do you feel if the Parliament got younger, I don't have to say the rest.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you very clearly, Peter. Can you repeat
I
the
would say
question?
that if our Parliament got younger, would the ladies get the reservation that they have a better chance?
Definitely yes. I would definitely say yes without batting an eyelid. I would definitely say yes, because we do not give chance. The thing is, we don't have a system that if you have contested twice, you have been in a position twice, you cannot contest again, or you cannot be in that position again. Most of the politicians, unfortunately, in India think that the minute you have a power, you are in a position, then that is something, it's for family generations to go on, because they want everybody from their family coming in, or they want to keep it for themselves. They don't want to let go. That you have served as a parliamentarian, you have served as the Prime Minister, you have served as the Chief Minister, you have served as a minister. So you do it twice and then you don't do it, because that's how you bring in the younger people. Unfortunately, in India, if you're in your 30s or 40s and you become a minister, then they say, oh, you're too young because you don't know anything about it. And, if you're somewhere about 60, a senior citizen, then you also have a set of people saying that, Are, you are pretty senior. What would you do? How would you serve the society? So, we are very hypocritical about our own society, about ourselves. So I think we should bring in a system where we say that you have contested twice and then you cannot do it again. If you have won and you contest twice, you have won and you have been in a position, give chance to the new people to come out, because there are so many youngsters. We say the entire country is about Generation Next. We want to do something for this country because the next generation should be safeguarded, and we should give them a larger platform and a better way of living. But until unless you don't bring in the young minds, you don't understand what they want, we will never be able to do it. So I think we need to get youngsters in the parliament. We need to get youngsters to take a very, very large role in changing the entire atmosphere, the entire feel of the Indian politics.
Yeah. Peter? Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Peter. No, you're not audible, actually.
Now, is it working?
Yeah, yes, yes, please.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
So, Lakshmi made the statement, women in politics is not the rule. I would say that depends on pronunciation. Women in politics is not the rule because we men in politics are still the rule. So the question is, what could we or what should we men do to achieve this gender equality, gender parity in parliament? Rihanna mentioned many other inequalities, but I'm limiting it to the gender equality. So what could we do that this 50% you have mentioned before and not the 31 or 33% could be achieved? So let's turn around. At the beginning, I said, you're tired of being told what you should do it the other way around. Tell us, please, what we should do.
Can I answer that?
Yes, go ahead.
I would say less, do more. It's interesting that for a panel on women in politics, or any debate, televised debate, which is revolving around a topic related to women, why is it only women who have to discuss it? And that even then, that is lip service. How about do more and talk less? And I will go to Pankaj's question. Pankaj, my answer to you would be a little mixed up. Obviously, we have a cap of 75 years now for sitting in the government under the current dispensation. However, I don't know if I can speak for everybody who's actually, and we have a very young parliament right now. I don't know if I'd like to speak for every parliamentarian, because you don't know whether that parliamentarian ultimately would like that seat to come to his family only. So in my personal experience, I am doing what I am doing because people in their 50s and 60s are very supportive of what I do. But people in the 40s and 50s, in the mid-rung, are like, how can she come to our level even though she's 10, 12 years younger to us? So it really depends. Yes, it's a very long career. Khushbuji is right. I don't think people in the 60s necessarily have some of a problem with people in the mid-20s and mid-30s. Problem could be something else. The gestation period of a political public life. And you cannot speak for everybody, because a 20-something might ultimately want his seat to go to his wife or his sister or some so on and so forth. So I would say, younger parliament is going to infuse our democracy with a lot of fresh ideas. And perhaps a younger parliament, especially men folk, I would say, do more. Have more men. I mean, I'm glad you have 3 women political participants, but it would be very good if you had a male political participant also, because then we would like to hear what he thinks should be done about women in politics and what has he done to ensure there's more participation from women folk.
Yes, point well taken.
Yes.
Yes, Lakshmi, yours. Over to you.
It was a very thought-provoking session. It was mind-blowing, I would say. And what I see is our distinguished panelists, all of them are so unique in their own ways, but they have stark similarities when it comes to, they have responded, they have pursued their calling. They have decided to be the change they want to see. and they want to give back to the society. I heard all these from all the three panelists. So there is such a stark similarity, and none of them think this is a career option.
And just to share my views on what Mr. Pankaj said in terms of youth being involved in more in the parliament. I mean, if you take the the population demographics of India, if you see over 65% are youth, and if someone needs to make any decisions affecting the younger population, then you need to hear from them. There should be representation of what their views are, concerns are, issues are, and that is a first, a checkpoint that you need, why you need younger people. And second, in the start of this event, Lakshmi, you just mentioned that we have the pandemic, new ways of working, new era. So when the world is changing into new ways of working, more on the business front is what the emphasis is there on. So what is the different in terms of how the political systems are run? So there are new ways of working on how the governance takes place, how the polity is done, how decisions are made. So in that case, you need the diversity of ideas, the thoughts, the new technology. So I think those are the enablers that you need in that decision-making process. So we need more young people. And to answer to Peter's question, that's again a very interesting question, which I would love to share my views. Yes, there are gender quotas. We are making legislative changes, but I think it is more an inherent a question for the men here to ask to themselves. I mean, for the men who are sitting in that room making decisions, I think it's high time now we need to mobilize the men to ask, am I fully equipped enough, or do I have enough data, resources, or understanding of what is it when I make decisions on women's health, women's education, women's well-being, their mental health. So I think that fundamental question, when each of these decision makers start asking themselves, then I think that can really bring in the change, and which relates to what I said, that it's a hand-in-hand process. It's not like just women standing there on the podium and shouting, please give me my rights. It's not that. It's a more collaborative, a cohesive kind of an approach that one needs to take. And now the men need to start questioning in that decision-making room, am I making the right decisions? Am I being fair? Am I being just?
Super.
Any final comments? We'll come to the end of the thing. I think, yes, you would like to say something, Lakshmi, before we close?
I was just summing up. So we were talking about the never give up attitude, and giving back to the society, and being the change that you want to see. And also Rahana mentioned about diversity. So gender diversity, proper representation from different groups, all these are very, very important. And she was also talking about new ways of execution, new ways of operation. I think it's opening up, and this is the right time for youngsters to get groomed and mentored. And you were also mentioning about your new initiative. Right? I would like you to, before we close, we would like you to talk about that for a few seconds, about your initiative of mentoring aspiring politicians. Right, Captain? Yeah.
That was done by NGPL has been doing.
Yeah, but in association with you, right?
Yeah, that's been done. NGPL.
Yeah. So,
NGPL does a lot of courses and all.
So,
they can visit the NGPL website.
So it was wonderful interacting with all of you, and a very thought-provoking and mind-blowing session. And we'll take it from here. This is only a beginning. We would want you to come one-on-one, because all of you have so much to share. We have so much to take away from your experience. Obviously, we cannot learn everything from our own experience. We need to take it from yours. So we want this to be a beginning. And so that was wonderful. That was a wonderful session. I thank Madras Management Association for giving me this opportunity. And thank you all the distinguished panelists and the speakers. Thank you so much.
You have been really amazing in managing all the women in one podium. So hats off to you. A great job done.
so energizing. It's so inspiring to interact with Yeah.
Thank you. It's just the
Thank
beginning.
you,
Many
Lakshmi.
more,
We'll do one-to-one. We'll request you to be it'll be in conversation with you only. And I think the theme, Women in Politics, is so much of interest. And we have more than 2,500 viewers watching the program live. And they continue to watch because the recording is going to be available for next 1 year in our website. And thanks to each one of you, the subject like women in politics cannot be done 1 hour, 20 minutes. We already crossed it by more than 30 minutes. So I think there's no end to that. But it's a lot of new things that come. It's our endeavor to bring some more women in politics. As Nupur said, we'll bring also men, because many of them, as you said, get jittery to come and join the thing and discuss about this openly. But anyway, you suggest the name of the politician, we are going to bring him over. Thank you, Khushbu, for joining in spite of your busy commitment. Nupur, thanks to you again. I know how busy you are, and for your candid opinion, and really appreciate it joining us. Rehana, thanks for joining from UK, and it's always a pleasure to have you with us. And Lakshmi Ramakrishnan, as usual, you've been wonderful in leading the conversation, bringing the best out of our panelists. I think the success of this event today, the panel discussion, goes to you too, because I know how much you've been interacting with me and preparing for this evening, and it's really a pleasure to have you with you. Thank you, Mr. Peter Rimmel, for joining us this evening and also supporting MMA to bring some outstanding events like this. And Pankaj, as usual, thanks for all the support. Thank you, viewers. You have come in a big number. Sorry, many of your questions we couldn't answer, because most of the questions what you asked have been addressed by the panelists during the conversation. That's one of the reasons we let the panelists speak, share their insight more. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, another event of MMA. Stay safe, keep healthy. In Chennai, there's a total lockdown. Obey the lockdowns. Please stay at home and take safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Peter, thank you, Kavita, and thanks all of you, all the gorgeous leaders. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Good night, each one of you.
Good night.